Good morning, class. My name is Felix Correa, and my presentation today is about Channel Z, a song by the B-52s. The B-52 band was formed in the late 1970s, and they came out of the town called Athens, Georgia. Many other grunge or alternative rock bands were formed at that time frame in the same college town. The difference about the B-52s were a five-member band made up of Cindy Wilson, Kate Pearson, which were the two ladies, Ricky Wilson, the guitarist or Cindy's older brother, Fred Schneider, the vocalist, and Keith Strickland, the drummer. They were very successful because they catered to the grunge or counterculture of the 1980s. Now, we think of the 1980s as an era in which all the advances, not necessarily the advances, of all the gains made in the 60s and the 70s came to fruition. But unfortunately, the 1980s or the Reagan era is mirrored with political conservatism and consumerism. So in other words, all those advances did not necessarily come to fruition at that time frame. Now, the B-52s in the beginning did cater to that kind of culture. Remember the yuppie? They cater to the people that just wanted to see how they look, and they just want to spend money. So a happy beat was what was mostly used at that time frame. But in 1985, Ricky Wilson was terminally ill, and according to the news, he died of natural causes, which was later to be found of AIDS. Now, in the 1980s is when the AIDS epidemic started, one which the government completely ignored. Now, the band was devastated by his death, and they went into seclusion. In 1989, they came out with their next album called Cosmic Thing. In this album, they had three top hits: Love Shack, Rome, and Channel C. Now, we're concentrating on Channel C because Channel C talks about everything that was wrong about the 80s. They talked about AIDS. They talked about the nuclear winter, about the proliferation of nuclear weapons, about our presence or our presence of our military overseas, about ecological disaster. All of that the political arena at that time frame, like the Iran-Contra scandal, and all the political stuff that was happening in South America, and we were involved in. Now, even though the band was very, very popular, and the album became the one that made them the most money throughout their career until that time frame, the song is not necessarily talking about protest, but it's talking about how the apathy of the people, because they are so concerned of what's happening, what in spending money and just living life instead of seeing what's happening around them. As you can see, there's a nuclear waste. The space debris, when they were thinking that the Soyuz space station was going to fall into one of the highly populated areas, and the proliferation of nuclear weapons. Now, other songs in the 80s was also talking about protests. Like we studied in our class, we have Free Nelson Mandela, which was talking about apartheid and South Africa. 99 Luftballons, which by Nena, which talks about the military paranoia and our nation eagerness to go to war. And something that you remember quite well, Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen. Now, this particular song talks about how the middle class were treated in the era of Reaganomics or trickle economics. Now, the artists, unlike other eras, had more means to disseminate their message because the 80s is the advent of the digital age. This is when MTV came to be, the World Wide Web was launched, and there was an era of the video. Remember, video killed the radio star and the Walkman. So artists were able to express their ideas on a global scale. All of this is happening in the 1980s. as you can see, as you remember better yet, all of those technological advances we use now. But if you were transported to the 1970s and you talk to people about the World Wide Web or music television, they'll look at you and they think that you grew another head. The 80s were the ones that launched all of these ideas and pushed this way of teaching other people or putting out your message in which you can make a great difference in life. Thank you. It's been a great privilege and honor being in class with you guys, and I hope you enjoy my presentation. Have a great holidays. Bye.